Hello, James.
Emily, how are you?
It's good to see you again.
Thank you, a pleasure.
Back in Jerusalem, where are we? What neighborhood are we in today?
Of course we're back in Jerusalem, and today we're in Old Kataman. It's an Ottoman period neighborhood, some great Ottoman houses, not as fancy as Talbia next door, but it's become a really mixed community in its life afterward.
Wow.
And we're going to a very special place.
Where?
We're going to what is today a school, but before that, it was the home of Pinchas Litvinovsky, who was one of the great sort of founders of modern art in Israel. And in the last couple of years, it's become the new home of Studio of Her Own.
All right, so let's go take a look.
And I want to introduce you to Ruth Diskin, who is the head of...
Nice to meet you.
Ruth is head of community and culture for the Jerusalem Foundation, and really her vision embraces art, culture, and community across the city.
Thank you. Must be a very interesting job you have. Jerusalem is such a huge canvas, so I imagine there's non-stop creative energy around as you
There is actually, there is, and the Jerusalem, the foundation is supporting and embracing all the diversity of the city. And we also support and help all kinds of communities in the city. And women are not a minority, but definitely we want to empower women and to find ways to celebrate with them the arts and the possibility to do all kinds of things in the city. And Studio of Her Own is one of these places that you're going to see shortly.
Zippy, great to see you. I want to introduce you to Emily. Zippy,
Nice to meet you.
Emily. Zippy is the founder of this amazing Studio of Her Own. She founded it 10 years ago, but for the last 2 years, she and her team have been turning this amazing, derelict, historic house into the new Studio of Her Own.
Very exciting, and I'm sure you love coming to work every day.
Yes, I love to come here every day. It's a unique place. First Studio of Our Own is the first and the only women art center in Israel. It's a place that combines past and future. It's a place that bridges over identities and over the gap of political problems. We're in Jerusalem and everything. It's a safe place not for artists, also for women, and to be here and to create good things, new things.
Emily, I want you to meet Lenora Mizrahi Cohen.
Hi, Lenora. Nice to meet you.
Welcome.
Lenora is
What a nice space to work every day.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's been a big boon during Corona to have a quiet space, inspiring space to come and be and do my work.
You know, Lenora is an artist here who made Aliyah with her husband and 2 children 2 years ago, and actually very soon she's going to have her first child in Israel.
Wow,
with God's help, yes. Very exciting time.
She comes from a long lineage of Syrian Jewish background. And it's really amazing to look at her work because it's kind of a fusion of Arabic and Hebrew as 2 calligraphies with one meaning. It's sort of like the story of Arab Jews and Jewish Arabs.
And especially also you grew up in Brooklyn, so.
Yes, I'm a conglomerate of a lot of different heritages and cultures, and then they all come out through the artwork, which is exciting. I try not to think too much about political implications about what I'm making. I just try and come from an honest place of looking at my own heritage and roots and what it means to me personally, and I hope that these are more universal topics that are relevant in ways to other people who have similar mosaic backgrounds or interests. We talk a lot about here honoring the past while being contemporary and looking toward the future. And a lot of my work has to do with contemplating my place in this link, this chain of people and all my ancestry and my heritage, and how relevant is it to me now. My favorite experiences were connecting with artists in Dubai, for example, who invented this particular script. There's a lot of different Arabic fonts, and I connected with them via online. They will critique my work and help me on my journey, and this is an amazing thing, because looking forward to all the very exciting peace agreements that Israel is signing now, the possibilities start to open of new programming and collaborative works between artists in different countries, and it's almost like a coming back together of cousins, I like.
Wow, Yael, we hate to interrupt you, but I want to introduce you to Emily.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Thank you for letting us be here in your space while you're working.
My pleasure. I like guests. Welcome.
And we're happy to be here. You know, Emily, it's interesting. Yael's work, it's conceptual, and she's a performative artist. She's really out and about out there. And Yael, talk to us about how you came to art. You know, from your world, from the Orthodox world and a religious world, how did you come to art as an anchor for you?
That's a very good question. I was born in Israel, here in Jerusalem, and I'm from a religious family. But, you know, religious people, definitely if they came from the States, have a lot to do besides religion. So, since my mother was American, I don't know if that's where I got art from. But I never felt that doing art or doing science, my parents are both scientists, is a problem, being religious and doing something else.
Right.
And it's not just art, it is conceptual and it's performative, but for you, from everything you say, it's also about being a woman artist. And this brings me to the question of what brings you from the West Bank to Studio of Her Own? What do you find here that enriches you?
Studio of Her Own is a miracle for me. I finished Beit Academy and I continued learning Torah, and I was teaching Torah, and I continued doing art on my own. And I felt nobody cares about my art. Nobody understands my art. I'm all alone in my own world and nothing will come out of this. And I continued doing art because I have to do art. I always do art. It just happens. But I was very much immersed in myself. And I felt very, very, very hard feelings. And then somebody told me, listen, you have to work in a group. There are all kinds of groups going on here in Jerusalem. There's a new group I heard of. Zippy Mizrahi opened a group for religious women. Try to be part of that group, and I joined. And this was a life-saving thing for my artistic life. Because what Studio of Her Own made me do is do art much more than what I would have been able to. And I also exhibited all around the country, and I also sold a piece to the Jewish Museum in Berlin. These things could not happen if Studio of Her Own would not exist.
What a treat to be able to be around all of these talented women, and how great for them to be able to, you know, come here to be creative.
You know, it is pretty amazing. Here we are at Studio of Her Own, a place empowering women with art in the middle of Jerusalem. And as we all know, Jerusalem sits at the center of the universe. A pleasure always to be here.
Thank you, James, once again for another wonderful segment.
And thank you.